Well, hello everyone, and welcome back to another Safopedia webinar. We'd like to wish you a good morning, a good afternoon, or a good evening, depending on where you are in the world. My name is Samantha from Safopedia, and here at Safopedia, it is our mission to support you, the EH&S professionals, operational folks, and any safety-minded individuals with free safety information, tools, and education. I want to extend a huge thank you to all of you, our dedicated safety professionals, for the great work you do on a daily basis in keeping our workplaces safe. Today, we are proud to present Cold Stress Explained, Physiology, Prevention, and PPE that Works. This Safopedia webinar has been made possible today by Ergodyne, a preferred manufacturer member of AD Safety Network. AD, together we win. It is now my pleasure to introduce to you today's presenter, Madison Moore, a product trainer for Ergodyne. Today, Madison is going to give you a comprehensive session on cold stress management and protection strategies for you and your team. I'm very excited to have you all sit back, relax, and enjoy this presentation. With that, Madison, let's jump into it.
All right, well, thank you, Samantha. As she said, my name is Madison. I'm a product trainer here at Ergodyne. Today, we're going to talk about cold stress. We are going to be talking about mostly some of the risks involved with cold stress and then some of the solutions to help you in that process. So before we dive in, I want to focus on some of our cold hard facts and some stats with you. So according to the Bureau of Labor and Statistics, around 380 injuries are linked to cold exposure each year. It's a serious issue that often gets overlooked, and it's not just about hypothermia or frostbite. The cold also increases the risks of slips, trips, and falls. That could be something as simple as tripping over your own feet, slipping on ice, or losing your footing because your movement is restricted from the cold. So the basics of how our body reacts to cold. I want you to think back to the last time you were working or spending time in a really cold environment, whether it's outside or an inside environment. What did you feel first? What got cold the quickest? So usually it's our fingers and our toes, and there's a reason for that. So if you look at this diagram here on the slide, you can see what's happening inside your body when it starts to get cold. Your body pulls blood away from your hands, your feet, and other extremities, and actually redirects it to your core. And it's protecting your vital organs. It's protecting your heart, your lungs, and other essential systems you need to function. One of those things that you'll notice is that you start to shiver. What that is it's our muscles contracting to generate heat and to help us warm back up. When all this is happening, your body is working overtime to stay warm. This means less energy is going towards the work that you're trying to do, and tasks start to feel harder. Our fine motor skills go down, and the risk of mistakes and injuries actually increase. So when we talk about staying warm and layering properly, it's not just about comfort, it's about keeping your body functioning at its best so that you can work safely and efficiently. So looking at some symptoms, okay? As your body starts to lose heat, there's a few warning signs that we want to watch out for ourselves and also for the people that we're working with. You might notice uncontrolled or shallow breathing, intense shivering, or even mental confusion, okay? So what I mean by that is struggling to think clearly or making decisions. You can also see a loss of coordination where simple movements just start to feel a little clumsy. Maybe you drop something a few times, or you're having a hard time remembering what you were supposed to be doing. Physically, the skin may start to look cold or bluish. And in even more severe cases, a person might develop an irregular heartbeat, a weak pulse, or even enlarged pupils. These are some red flags that the body is moving towards hypothermia. And at that point, it's critical to get the person warm and medical help right away. These symptoms may be hard to recognize in yourself. So what we really want you to look at is each other. So working in that buddy system and helping each other, identifying if these symptoms are happening, or if they're happening, how we can stop them and get them to a place where we can warm them up or get medical attention so they don't fall into hypothermia or frostbite. So we have three serious conditions that can really lead from cold stress. So we have frostbite, hypothermia, and dehydration. And we're going to talk a little bit more in depth on each of these. So starting with frostbite. This usually happens when the skin and tissues underneath actually freeze. It affects our hands, feet, nose, and ears. Like we said, when the cold happens, the heat goes to our vital organs. So it leaves our appendages and our limbs a little less protected than they normally would be. If someone is showing signs of frostbite, the first thing to do is to get them out of the cold and into a warm location. From there, we want to warm the affected areas gradually, okay? We don't want to put extreme heat on it or rub or massaging the areas because the tissue has likely started to crystallize, and rubbing it can cause those crystals to tear and the tissue to break, and it can make the injury worse. We also don't want to use direct heat, so no heating pads, lamps, or hot water, which you would think about when it comes to frostbite. But what that can actually do is the skin is numb and it can burn the skin pretty easily because we can't pay attention to that area. Instead, we want to use body heat or warm water, not hot water, but warm water, and make sure the person stays hydrated and seeks medical attention as soon as possible. Hypothermia. So when we talk about hypothermia, this happens when your core body temperature drops below 95 degrees Fahrenheit. So our normal body temperature, hopefully everybody knows this, is 98.6 when we take our fever, looking for that. It doesn't take much of a drop to get from that 98.6 to 95 for our body to start shutting down. So when hypothermia sets in, your cognitive abilities, so your ability to think clearly, actually starts to decrease. You might notice slurred speech, confusion, or even hallucinations in severe cases. So there's different stages of hypothermia in case you didn't know. For mild cases, moving to a warm area, staying active, drinking a warm beverage, not alcoholic, can help raise your body temperature. But as symptoms start to get more severe, it's important to seek medical help immediately. Both frostbite and hypothermia can happen quicker than you might think, especially in windy or wet conditions. So recognizing the warning signs early and responding makes all the difference right away. So again, working in that buddy system to help each other identify if something is happening to one another. And then dehydration, I know, not something we usually associate with cold weather, but dehydration can actually happen in any environment, not just in the heat. So when you're working hard in the cold, you still lose fluids through sweat and breathing. You just may not notice it as much because you don't feel as hot. If you're not drinking enough to replace the fluids that you're losing while you're working, dehydration can actually sneak up on you pretty fast. Some of the warning signs to watch out for include fatigue, lightheadedness, muscle cramps, confusion. But the good news is that it's pretty easy to treat. You need to just replace the lost fluids that you've done. You can do that with electrolytes, by drinking water, a sports drink, or even juice to help your body recover. Remember, staying hydrated isn't just for summer. It's a year-round safety habit that keeps you feeling alert, strong, and ready to work. So what about performance? The ideal temperature range for peak productivity is actually between 68 and 72 degrees Fahrenheit. That's pretty much our sweet spot where your body feels comfortable, alert, and able to focus. But when the temperature starts to drop too low, things change, and you might notice that mental fog, and it becomes harder to focus on more complex tasks or concentrate for long periods. We also see a decrease in productivity. So for every degree that we drop below 50 degrees, productivity can drop by about 1%. So if you're working in 40-degree weather, you're already performing at roughly 90% of your normal capacity. And it's not just about focus or speed. Cold conditions can actually lead to more mistakes. So you can see at the bottom there under increased errors, a study from Cornell University found that workers in colder environments made more errors overall, which led to about a 10% increase in labor costs on average. So staying warm isn't just about comfort, it's about safety, focus, and making sure you're getting your job done effectively. So who's really at risk when it comes to cold stress? We have our outdoor workers, whether the environments are changing. That includes construction workers, roofers, road crews, snow and ice removal workers. The list goes on and on. These folks deal with cold temperatures, wind, and moisture on a regular basis, all of which increase the risk. But it's actually not just about outdoors. There are plenty of people who work in indoor environments as well, where it's called cold all year long. These are controlled settings, but it still comes with their own challenges. So think about cold storage facilities. Those are popping up more and more lately. Food processing plants, breweries, beverage productions, and even supermarket employees that work in the freezer section. So risk awareness, things to be aware of. So before we dive too deep into preventing risk, we want to take a second to talk about personal risk. So everyone reacts to cold differently. What feels tolerable to one person might feel freezing to another, and that's because of things like age, body weight, hydration level, and overall health all play a part. Me, I personally run really hot. So the heat and the cold all affect me a little bit differently than everybody else. I keep my house set at like 67 degrees because I have to sleep in a little bit of colder because my body runs so hot. Other people can't live in that. They have to have their temperature set at like 72. So when we think about what causes cold stress, there's really two sets of factors, environmental and personal. The personal factors are especially important because they determine how your body handles exposure to cold conditions. So who's at greater risk for cold-related illnesses? It tends to be people who are older, overweight, have chronic health issues, or maybe under the influence of alcohol or drugs. All of these affect how our body regulates heat and responds to cold stress. Another factor that we don't think about sometimes is called acclimatization. Basically, how your body has adjusted to working in the cold. If you're not used to cold weather, or if temperatures suddenly drop and your body needs some time to adapt before you're jumping into that strenuous activity. So give yourself time to adjust can make a big difference in staying safe and comfortable. And again, I'm going to harp on it again because dehydration is such a big thing. It often gets overlooked in the cold. In low temperatures, your body's thirst response drops by up to 40%, even if you're already dehydrated. So you've already not had enough water, and now your body in the cold is even more dehydrated, and that's because your blood vessels tighten to keep warmth near your core. So it tricks your body into thinking it's hydrated, and the result is you're not really feeling thirsty. But your body continues to lose fluids, especially if you're active. So make sure that you keep that in mind when you're working out in these cold conditions, setting a timer for yourself, giving yourself a goal every hour of how much water to drink. You want to make sure that you understand your personal risk factors and how your body responds to that cold. All right, so let's talk about OSHA requirements when it comes to cold stress. So OSHA doesn't have a specific regulation for cold stress, and there's no standard or campaign around it like there is for heat stress. But that doesn't mean it's ignored. It actually falls under the general duty clause, which states employers must provide a workplace that's free from recognized hazards that could cause death or serious physical harm. So cold stress absolutely falls under that category. It's a recognized hazard that can cause real harm if it's not managed properly. OSHA does have a few guidelines to mitigate risk where cold stress is concerned, like bundling up and layering properly. We'll talk more about that shortly. They recommend that you should wear 3 layers of clothing for protection. But here's something a lot of people don't really think about. Your layers need to be loose fitting, not tight. So those small air gaps between layers actually help trap heat and keep you warmer. They also recommend covering your face and skin, wearing face coverings that protect your face, mouth, ears, forehead, and keeping your hands protected with insulated gloves. And then don't forget your feet. I feel like a lot of people do that, but you lose a lot of heat through your feet. So wear insulated and waterproof boots to help prevent moisture and retain warmth. So lastly, I want to emphasize before we get into the products that training and education are key to preventing cold-related illnesses. So when workers like you guys understand the risks and how to look for the signs, you guys are in a much better position to protect yourselves and the people that you work with, and to become knowledgeable in the right PPE and what's good for the environment that you're in, because cold stress is 100% preventable. Another important piece of prevention is scheduling. So remember, when possible, try to plan your outdoor maintenance or repair work for the warmer months of the year, if possible. If that's not an option, aim to schedule your tasks to take place during the warmest part of the day. Mornings are always going to be colder than the afternoons where they warm up a best. So if you can take care of your work in the warmest part of the day, that'll help you mitigate your cold stress. And if the job is physically demanding or takes an extra long time, consider working in that buddy system and rotating out, or having extra crew members on your job so that no one person is overexposed to the cold for too long. So at the end of the day, planning the right protective gear and focus on awareness and recognizing the signs can make all the difference to staying safe in a cold environment. So let's move on to talk about some of our warming products and how we can stay safe in the cold. So here's the big question that we get asked a lot is, what do you wear if it's extremely cold in the morning, but warms up in the middle of the day? We just kind of talked about that. And that's one of the biggest challenges for workers out in the field right now, is the mornings and nights are the coldest, but by midday, the temperatures rise and we're a little bit warmer. And you don't want to be overheated or uncomfortable with everything that you're wearing. So many workers don't actually layer properly. So we'll throw on a big heavy jacket and hope it does the trick, but then we get a little warmer throughout the day and it doesn't work as well. And that doesn't give your body flexibility to adapt as the temperature changes. So that's where layering comes in. It's one of the simplest, most effective ways to prevent cold stress while staying comfortable throughout the day. So if you guys look on the screen right here, see if I can call it out for you. This one right here, number 1, that's our base layer. This is your foundation. It should be moisture wicking and quick drying to keep sweat away from your skin. And you're going to look for something breathable and slightly loose. You don't want compression tight. Remember, we want those small air gaps to trap warmth. Now we're going to talk about the mid layer. So number 2 right here. This is usually your work gear or uniform. It adds insulation to help keep your body heat trapped, and think of it as your main warmth barrier. And then lastly, we have our outer layer, number 3. You can kind of see it right here. This one is all about protection. So it's made of durable materials. It's designed to block wind, rain, snow, and it's your shield against the elements. We recommend using base layers, mid layers, and outer layers together. As you can see in this picture, they're kind of layered on top of each other. So you can easily adjust as conditions change throughout the day. So key takeaway on this slide, dress in layers, don't bulk up. Flexibility keeps you warmer, safer, and more productive. All right, so we're going to talk about each layer a little bit more in depth. So we have our base layers first. So on the left here, we've got our thermal base layers. You can see them right here, a long sleeve and a bottom. These are great for colder conditions. They're thicker, more insulating, and built to trap the warmth while letting your skin breathe. And then on the right over here, we have our lighter weight options. So these are ideal for layering under work gear or for days where temperatures fluctuate. So think of that, colder in the morning, warmer in the afternoon. They provide the same moisture wicking comfort. They're just a little bit lighter. All right, moving on to mid layers. This is part of your clothing system that really does kind of that heavy lifting of keeping that warmth and insulation in. Your mid layers job is to trap the body heat, like I said before, while still allowing sweat to escape from the base layer. It's the balance between warmth and breathability that keeps you comfortable throughout your workday. So starting on our left, we have our heated vest And if you can see me, I'm actually wearing it right now. It's one of my favorites, and it includes a battery pack, power bank that you can take out, recharge, put it back in. It's lightweight, easy to put under jackets, and it actually keeps you pretty warm on its own without having anything else. You can actually use it to 3 different settings, a low, medium, and a high. And then on the right side over here, we have our high-vis sweatshirts. These are perfect for workers who need visibility and warmth at the same time, and they're designed for comfort and flexibility, whether you're moving between outdoor tasks or working in a chilled indoor space, and they give you just an overall feel for it. I also want to let you guys know that we actually have women's fit coming to these pretty soon. They'll be launching within the next few months, so keep your eye out on that. Key takeaway here with mid layers is they provide insulation, they retain warmth, but it also works with your other layers and not against them. So combine it with a good base layer and outer shell, and you have a pretty good protection against the cold environment. All right, outer layers is where we're up next. So the part of the gear that stands between you and the elements. Think of your rain, your wind, your snow. So these help allow moisture to escape from your body, but it also shields you from the conditions outside. We have a thermal outerwear line. We're not going to talk about them super in depth, but I do want to point out that these are all temperature rated, meaning we've tested it across a wide range of conditions, from chilly mornings in the 40s all the way down to extreme sub-zero temperatures. And you can actually see the temperature scale at the bottom of this slide and where they kind of fall into play. Key message when it comes to these is cold comes in degrees. And having the right outer layer for your specific working conditions helps you stay safe, dry, and focused on the work that you need to do. Balaclavas. All right, so let's talk about another part of cold stress prevention, head and face, right? We lose a lot of heat coming up from here. Fastest place to get frostbite is our ears, so we need to protect those. So question that we ask is, I've got workers in different climates, some mild, some extreme. Do we really need different face coverings for each environment? It's a good question. And yes, having the right level of coverage makes a big difference. So here's our pain point. Some climates are mild, while others are brutally cold. If you wear something too thick in a mild environment, you can actually overheat, which again leads to discomfort, sweating. And when you sweat and it's already cold, now you've made yourself colder because you're getting chills. And on the other hand, if you wear something too light in the extreme cold, you're not protected enough and you wish you had something else. So balaclavas play a great solution for every level of cold. So for mild conditions, this one right here on the left is our spandex balaclava. It's lightweight, breathable, and perfect for protection without overheating. For colder environments, we have our fleece balaclava. It adds warmth, insulation, while still being comfortable under a hard hat or helmet, and it's actually a bestseller of ours. And for extreme cold is our balaclava with the Hot Rocks technology, and you can kind of see it's got a funky little face here. It actually keeps your breath warm when you're breathing into it, which is, I think, a really cool feature of that. That's a little bit unique. So if you're really in those sub-zero days and you're like, every time you breathe in, you can feel that spike into your lungs, this helps with that. All right, so moving into hats. What do I do if I start my workday before sunrise and then finish after dark? I can't see my work and others might not see me. So I actually have a fun story on this one. This rechargeable beanie LED, I used this over the weekend as my brother called me at 1 a.m. to help him fix a tire on the side of the road. I don't know how to fix the tire. He did it. I came out with that hat and I basically stared every car down that could come near us in the pure pitch black so that we didn't get hit by a car. So it's got that reflective lime color to help with visibility. It also comes in that orange. And it's, again, one of my favorites. It is USB rechargeable. This part right here just pops right out. You can charge it, wash the hat, put it right back in. We also have our reflective beanie and gaiter. These are really solid options. It's warm, comfortable, and it has a reflective band that enhances visibility when light hits it, and it helps you see others from a distance. So each of these solve a different real world problem. So it's up to you of what one works best in your environment. All right, so we are moving on to arc flash hazards. All right, we actually have a very nice line of FR wear for workers in electrical, utility, or oil and gas environments. Arc flash protection is a top priority. But most FR gear isn't designed for comfort or insulation, so you might end up with bulky, stiff materials that might protect you, but don't always feel great in cold conditions. So we provide a solution that's both combining warmth and protection. So all the options that you see on this slide here are at least Cat 2 FR compliant or above and can fit under a hard hat. This one right here, our knit beanie, is actually a Cat 4. And this balaclava right here is actually dual compliant. Are there hats that actually work with bump caps? And the answer is yes. So when you're required to wear a bump cap for safety, that plastic cold of a bump cap can really fit on your head and make it really uncomfortable. It distracts you and you really don't want to wear it. The reason this happens is that this bump cap, once it hits your head, is made of plastic. And now that plastic is freezing cold, it goes under your head and you feel a little miserable with it. So we actually have a line of hats that have a zipper built into it that allow you to put your bump cap in, and then there's a little bit of distance between that plastic hitting your head that's cold, and you have a little bit more insulation. And these are all compliant with our bump cap series. All right, emergencies. I don't know about you, but I wish I had these on Saturday night when I had to go out to his car because it got real cold. So emergencies happen in the cold, mostly when you're not expecting it. So being prepared for those is really important. So we have built a winter warming kit. So this kit is designed as a grab and go emergency pack for cold conditions. It includes essentials like hand, toe, body warmers to help workers warm up quickly if the temperature drops unexpectedly. It also includes thermal gloves, socks, and a beanie, everything to restore body heat and keep someone comfortable until they can get to a warmer environment. For me, I need to go put this in everybody I know's car. So if they ever get stuck in a ditch, they have something to protect them. And these are just a really great option to prevent frostbite and hypothermia from kicking it. Think of it as a first aid kit for the cold. And last on this part, we're going to talk about gloves. So what gloves should I provide if different workers have different needs? It's a great question. It really hits the main pain point that not every job, environment, or worker is the same. Different tasks require different levels of dexterity, protection, warmth, and here's why that matters. Frostbite usually starts on our fingers, toes. We've talked about it. We're going to harp on it so everyone's aware because the body naturally pulls that blood away from our extremities. So we need to make sure that those are covered and not out there to the cold and the elements. So we offer a wider range of gloves to fit every need, whether you need waterproof, thermal, or cut protection even. All right, so footwear and foot accessories is what we're going to talk about next. Every year, slips, trips, and falls tops our list for workplace accidents. In fact, in 2023 alone, there were over 244,000 reported injuries from slips, trips, and falls, according to the Bureau of Labor and Statistics. Of those, more than 20,000 were specifically related to ice, sleet, and snow, which means working in winter conditions continues to be a serious threat for workers on the job. And here's the part that really hits home when we think about it. 1 in 4 of these injuries results in more than 30 days a month away from work, which is lost time, money, everything. So the average cost of an ice-related slip or fall claim around $42,000. And that doesn't even include the impact on productivity, morale, or getting people to help you when you're out in the field. So when we talk about cold stress prevention, it's not just about keeping warm, it's also about staying upright and injury free. So now that we've talked about how serious slips and falls can be, let's take a look at what we can actually do to prevent them, especially in situations where workers are moving in and out of buildings throughout the day. So what should I do if I am working outside, but I also need to work indoors? So I'm moving back and forth. That's an important one because there are traditional ice cleats that work great outdoors, but they can become an indoor hazard, right? We can slip on them. We're scuffing up floors, metal spikes that can damage the floors while on a hard surface. So that's why we have a few different options out there. If you look right on this side right here, this is our ice traction system. It provides stability outdoors while still being safe and convenient to wear when moving indoors. This one right here actually has a rotating ice cleat. So you see on this image, it's down at the sole, but it can actually rotate to sit right here on the side of the shoe as well. We have two different options. We have one that's made for a normal shoe and then one that kind of works for boots that kind of sits right up against the heel there. And then on our left is our spikeless option. Again, it can be used indoor or outdoors, like a winter tire on your foot. So spike versus no spike. All right, so this one specifically is our indoor traction option. It's not made to be used outdoors. It's made for oil and slip resistant indoor material. So whether you're working on slick concrete, oily floors, or wet shop areas, spikes aren't always the answer. And that's where this spikeless traction device comes in. It's completely spikeless, meaning it won't scratch or damage indoor surfaces, but it also gives you a good grip on that oil or slippery resistant floor. So this shows just a high level overview of our traction, just for you to look at. And that is all I have for you guys. Is there any questions that I can answer?
Perfect. Yeah, as Madison just said, now is the time to ask some of those questions. So get those into the chat now. We did have a question come in. It looks like Claudia is typing away on that, but I'll ask it here anyways. With the balaclavas, condensation, what are we doing? How are we preventing it? How are we handling it?
Great question. I'm going to let Claudia answer that one.
Sure, yeah. I'll
Yeah, I was typing and I thought, okay, I'll just answer it. So many of our balaclavas actually are made of materials that can wick away the condensation or sweat that comes from your face. I do want to add that we have a specific balaclava, the model number is 6823, that actually has a windproof panel in the front of the face. So that does help a little bit better with that extra condensation. So we didn't talk through every single option that we have, but that would be the best one for the concern.
Perfect. As a Canadian in the tundra, that is something that we always need here. Condensation is an absolute nightmare, so always happy to have that for sure. All right. Again, if there's any questions for the Ergodyne team, they are here. Andy is asking if you have any downloadable resources, and if the presentation will be available.
So we do have a lot of resources on our website. If you go to ergodyne.com, basically all of these safety preventative measures that we've kind of talked about, they're all on there. All of the products that we've talked about are on there. And it's a really fun site to kind of just sort through and see, because we do like to harp on the prevention and the hazards involved with the prevention. So I highly recommend checking out our website and going out and seeing all the different things you can find on there.
Perfect. Yeah. And we always send a follow-up email to everybody that registered, so we can include some of those things as well. But yeah, make sure you're reaching out to your Ergodyne team. Head on over to their website and they can get you the materials that you need, or reach out to the team and they can have a direct conversation with you to make sure that you're getting the right stuff. All right, Madison, is there anything you want our audience to take away from today other than our cold, tingly fingers and toes, or to keep top of mind for today?
I think just those three things. You can prevent cold stress pretty easily by dressing right. I always got told by teachers in high school there is no bad weather, just bad clothing. So kind of keep that in mind. There is no bad weather. It's just how you prepare for the weather and what clothing you wear to keep yourself safe.
Absolutely. My New Year's resolution about 10 years ago was to dress for the weather, and I'm still working on it, but absolutely having the right equipment and the right materials makes things a lot easier. So don't settle. You don't have to settle just because it works sometimes. Make sure that you have the right equipment for your fingers and your toes and your condensation. It's all available from the Ergodyne team. They are a seasonal PPE. So they have everything that you need from cold to hot. So even if you're in Florida, make sure you're reaching out to them. And we just want to make sure that you're keeping your fingers and your toes and the rest of your whole body safe and warm and comfortable. So Madison, I want to give you a huge shout out for being here today. Of course, Claudia, I want to thank you for being in the background as well, the Ergodyne team, as well as AD Safety Network for allowing you to be here today. And of course, I want to thank the audience and all of our dedicated safety professionals, because without you, none of this would be possible. So thanks again. Take care, stay safe, and remember, reach out to your Ergodyne team so that you can make sure that you have the right PPE.